Fellas, love is in the air. And even though February is full of hearts and roses, grocery stores are packed with giant boxes of chocolate, which I know you all love, but I can assure you, our body doesn't. So to show your body some love, you need to feed it right. Which is why today's video is sponsored by Factor. From 35 chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals you can order straight to your doorstep every week. Not only can you choose meals that are calorie smart or keto, but you can be assured that all the ingredients are top-notch, with all its nutritional information being listed on its website. This is huge when we're talking about tracking macros. All the hard work here is already done. In fact, it also has tons of amazing add-ons like breakfast, signature juices, and delicious desserts that somehow stay relatively low when it comes to calories. No shopping, no cooking, hell, not even cleaning is necessary, as you can whip up these meals in 2 minutes right there in your microwave. My monthly Factor box just arrived this past week, and if you'd like to try out Factor for yourself, you can head on over to factor75.com or click the link down below and use code 50Aztecross to get a whopping 50% off plus free shipping on your first Factor box. Big shout out to Factor for always keeping us well fed. Now, I know the big focus right now has been on the seasonal weapons, especially the dungeon weapons. However, what if I told you the world loot for this season has got some extremely unique options, most notably a legendary Huckleberry. Yes, you heard that right. We have a legendary Huckleberry, which has actually become Les's most used weapon inside of PvP this season. With that being said though, today we're gonna be going over all the ways you can farm for world loot this season. Because yes, some of these you can focus for. On top of that, we're gonna go over my weapon and role recommendations for each of these, which will conclude our God roll overview video. Thank the Lord, man, we've hit them all. If you haven't checked out our dungeon video or our seasonal weapons video, feel free to check those out. Now first up, how do we even get world drops? Unfortunately, there are only a few ways, and at the end of the day, it's going to come down to some level of RNG. First up though, there is farming solo legend and master lost sectors. These are on a daily rotation with different weapons being available each day. Now in the past, you cannot get the most recent world loot weapons from the lost sectors. You would actually need to wait until the next season, or the next episode in this case, in order to get those to drop. However, with the launch of Revenant, Bungie changed this to also include the most recent loot, which to the best of our knowledge presents this table on the screen here in front of you for the 4 rotation groups. You've got Group 1, the Admetus Scout Rifle, the Elita Sniper Rifle, Yarovit MG4 SMG, which no lie is a great stasis SMG, the True Teller Grenade Launcher. In Group 2, we have the Cruoris FR4 Fusion Rifle, the Limefire Scout Rifle, the Dead Grammari Shotgun, the Adverse Possession Scout Rifle. In Group 3, we have the Qua Furor Machine Gun, the Legato Shotgun, the Mahis HC4 Hand Cannon, which is a very good burst fire hand cannon, the Controlling Vision Sidearm. And then in Group 4, we have the Boondoggle MK55, the Neoptolemus 2 Bow, the Suspectum Linear Fusion Rifle, and the Domino Sniper Rifle. Now, Master Lost Sectors are definitely the best ones to do, as they have a 100% drop chance for a world loot weapon. The world weapons can also drop with double perks from Master Difficulty, and sometimes you can even get multiple weapons to drop in one run. However, I did notice that when you did get multiple, they don't always drop with double traits. Usually just one of the drops do. Now, you also have a guarantee and an exotic Ingram along with other materials through solo Master Lost Sectors. So overall, it's a pretty good farm. Now, expert Lost Sectors are supposed to have around a 70% chance of a world weapon dropping, but from our testing, we got one pretty much every single time. Then you also have a chance at an exotic Ingram and other materials as well. Now, the downside to Lost Sectors is in the rotations. So for example, if you do want the legendary Huckleberry, you can only farm it every 4th day. And there are still other weapons in that day's group that can also drop instead. Now, the next method I want to go over is with their Tonic system. Now, if you're like me, I had a bunch of Revenant materials left over, and I'm actually still gaining some even now while playing. Fellas, I highly advise that you still take advantage of the Tonic system. It's great for topping off materials, whether it's Glimmer, Cores, or even some of our exotic materials. But what you want to do is you want to visit Eido in the last city. And right next to our bounties tab, there are these Tonic requests which seem to rotate daily. And by trading these tonics in, you can earn legendary gear and rep. Now, the rewards you get by trading these tonics in do include world loot weapons, including current world loot. I actually got a few of the new machine gun, the SMG, and others by doing this. You also get Revenant armor and weapons, which may be good if you're still chasing rolls from last episode. Now, as mentioned, these tonic requests rotate daily. So I would recommend doing this on days where Eido is requesting uncommon and green tonics, as they cost the least amount of resources to to craft. Rare are also pretty good, but if you have just a ton of resources and don't really care, then feel free to do this with whatever rarity Eido is requesting, but the lower the better in my opinion. Now, just with lost sectors, there isn't a guarantee here. You can end up with just a bunch of worthless armor, but it is another way to get some roll loot, especially if you don't plan on crafting tonics for gameplay purposes, considering we have the Tome of Want now. Again though, I still like to keep something there for my tonics, just to top off my upgrade materials. Now, speaking of the Tome of Want, that is our next method for getting roll loot. There's actually a reward scripture called Rolly Weapons, which will drop roll loot once you've completed a ritual. Now, if you've not checked out our guide on how the Tome of Want works, I really do advise checking that out, as that will get you completely caught up with how to get started with everything this season, obtaining the Tome of Want. But essentially, the rundown for this, guys, is that you just slot in the items that you're chasing, and in this case, Rolly Weapons. Now, I will say, guys, I have been trying like crazy to get an actual current roll drop weapon to drop from the Tome of Want. You see, every single time I have focus for a Rolly weapon, I keep getting old roll loot drops. Now, it could just be my RNG, maybe it's crap, but I'm talking about like 10 plus Tome of Want rotations and still no current roll drops. Now, you guys let me know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's my RNG. If it is my RNG, good God, talk about bad luck. Because something from the new roll drop pool should have dropped for me by now, but it hasn't. And if this is in fact a bug, Bungie, please fix this, as this would make farming so much easier. Now, could you still utilize this to chase any of the other roll loot from past episodes? Sure, you could do this on top of farming lost sectors, as completions will progress your ritual sum. Now, you can triple dip this with the Tonic of Rolly weaponry, if you have any left, or if you want to just craft some. Personally, I still think that turning them into Eido is probably the easiest method, as I found even focusing in the Tonic system was still giving me old roll drops. Again, all for people confirming down below if I'm wrong on this. If you're actually getting new drops from focusing, whether it's from the Tonic system or the Tome of Want, I'm hoping it's just me with bad luck, but please let me know in the comments below. Now, on top of this, guys, you can also get weapon drops from random Ingrams on top of pinnacles, but keep in mind that's where RNG is definitely not in our favor, as there's just so many different things you can get from that, including armor. Now, these are all the ways that we could find to acquire roll loot in episode Heresy. And if you're looking for some of the older seasonal loot, from Witch Queen up until Final Shape, don't forget you can focus at the Gunsmith with Gunsmith Ingrams. This system is also on a daily rotation, featuring 2 to 3 different foundries at a time. But there is some fantastic older rolled weapons that you can get, so don't forget to check that occasionally. Now, the current foundries Banshee features are Suros, Hake, Vice, Amalon, Field Forge, Cassoid, and Nadir. Now, each foundry should be focusable for 2 days at a time. For example, the first day we checked, we had Suros, Cassoid, and Nadir. The next day, we had Suros and Hake. So after that, it should be Hake in a different foundry. As for how to get Gunsmith Ingrams, again, it's pretty simple, and you'll probably even get a few from farming. You get them simply from ranking up Banshee's reputation. There's also a small chance of getting them from looting normal lost sector chests, with a higher chance from expert and master difficulty. You can also get them from free roam chests as well. Again, without a doubt though, guys, running those master lost sectors really is the best way to go. You get the chances of the double traits, which is more opportunities to get the god rolls, and you can actually run these lost sectors fairly fast. Now, before we get into what I believe to be the god roll on each one of these weapons, I do want to talk about our Reprised Season of Arrival weapons, as we've seen some questions on how to get these. Now, it is a bit hidden, but not too difficult. You get these by dunking 10 Metastasized Essentia in Eris's apartment. Now, you can also get these through your Tome of Want, as you can actually select the scripture Reprised weapons, and you can leave it at that, or even focus it further for a specific weapon. So either the bow, the fusion rifle, the pulse rifle, auto rifle, or the sword. And these are actually working. Now, with our loot and everything out of the way, guys, let's talk god rolls. Let's begin with our legendary Huckleberry Boondoggle MK55. This is a kinetic aggressive submachine gun. Now, let me just say, guys, this is basically like a legendary Huckleberry, but in some cases, it's even better. For instance, its origin trait is text balanced stock, where damaging targets while firing from the hip increases handling, reload speed, and movement speed while aiming down sights. Now, this may surprise you guys, but actually shooting from the hip is exactly what you want to do with this SMG. You want to lean into that as hard as you can. Matter of fact, Les's most used weapon is this weapon this season inside of PvP. He rocks a hipfire grip, offhand strike roll, both enhanced, both contributing to that hipfire accuracy. You've got hipfire grip there with that increase in aim assist and stability when shooting from the hip. It also gives you a ton of benefits when it comes to cone sizes. And then you got offhand strike where final blows grant additional weapon range, stability, and accuracy when firing from the hip for an improved duration. You take this a step further and pair this with something like Radiant Dance Machines. This is disgusting, guys. No lie. And I can't even believe I'm recommending you running around hip firing with an SMG, but it works. Now, are there other roles that are interesting? I mean, you do have things like To the Pain. I guess you got Tap the Trigger. Killing Win and Adagio are also present here. I will say for my PvE players, I don't really have anything here that interests me outside of maybe like a pugilist swashbuckler role. Everything else is kind of meh for PvE. Next, we have the Cruoris Fusion Rifle. And I hope I'm saying that right. This is an aggressive frame arc fusion. Now, keep in mind, Bungie's actually changed his entire archetype. The only other weapon that was present in this archetype pre-Heresy was Cruoris, which was arguably the worst fusion rifle in the game. Now, Bungie's made some tweaks and some reworks, and this is not necessarily a weapon review or a video about aggressive frame fusions. We'll probably be talking about that a bit more in the weeks to come. But this one does have some pretty interesting roles. First up, you've got Rolling Storm in that final column, which is such a good perk, especially if you're amplified and you have the enhanced version. Final blows grant bolt charge, while amplified, final blows grant additional bolt charge. You also have Discord in that third column. Now, the reason why I like Discord is that it allows you to essentially blow your load as much as you want. You get a final blow with another weapon. This would then grant the weapon with Discord increased speed for aiming down sights, accuracy, and airborne effectiveness. But the big thing is that when Discord is active, final blows refund ammo. Fellas, we're talking 8 seconds with the enhanced version that you could sit there and blow your load with this fusion rifle and never use up ammo. And considering just how good fusion rifles are this season, I highly advise snagging yourself a Discord Rolling Storm roll to go crazy with. Now, could you utilize something like One for All, considering the horizontal spread here of this fusion rifle, and just go for max damage? Sure, but dude, I'm just so crazy about Rolling Storm. I think it's one of the best perks in the game, and in my opinion, I say go crazy with that. Again, we'll be talking more on this archetype in the weeks to come, as I still think it needs a little more love. However, for my PvP players, all I could say is don't use this weapon or any other aggressive inside of PvP. It's just not good. Next, we have the Admetus-D. This is a 150 round per minute scout rifle. So think things like Jade Rabbit, Transfiguration, Polaris Lance. But this one is especially interesting because it is a void weapon. It's also a Hake weapon as well, which means it comes with Hake breach armaments, where the weapon does increase damage against vehicles and constructs. And there are certain things that fall within that umbrella. Now, this weapon actually has some pretty interesting roles for both PvP and for PvE. You've got Lone Wolf, which in my opinion is one of the best perks in the game. And I know Rapid Fire, Keep Away, To the Pain, those weapon perks are there. And yes, those are good perks for PvP. But dude, Lone Wolf is outright disgusting. Now, one of the perks that's present in that fourth column is Withering Gaze. Now, Withering Gaze weakens targets. The weaken inside of PvP isn't the full 15%. It's like 7.5%. It does require you to be a laning Larry though, but at the same time, it's great for team shotting. Now, Precision Instruments on a 150 round per minute scout rifle is actually not bad. It can 2 crits, 1 body, but only on Guardians, tier 6 resilience and below. But definitely worth your consideration in that fourth column. Now, for my PvE players, you've got Repulsor Brace, Demoralize, both of which synergize together. Demoralize states that precision final blows causes nearby targets to become weakened. And then you have Repulsor Brace, which state that defeating void debuff targets grants an overshield that lasts for an improved duration. So literally 2 perks there that synergize with each other. Now, Recycle Energy is a new trait as well. Reloading after defeating targets grants an increased amount of energy to your lowest charged ability. Pretty good perk. The only issue is that 150 round per minute scout rifles don't have the best reload speed, so keep that in mind. I actually have not used the perk all that much, but I could see certain scenarios in which I would take advantage of it. Outside of that, you have your typical perks like Elemental Honing, Frenzy. Elemental Honing does require you to jump through a number of hoops. Frenzy just requires you to be in combat for up to 12 seconds. Here's the thing though for my PvE players. At the end of the day, I'm not that crazy about 150 round per minute scouts inside of PvE. However, it is a void weapon and it has some pretty good void synergies, and we're in a season where void is really, really good. So could you use this? 100%. But I do tend to lean toward the more rapid fire weapons inside of PvE. Now, the next weapon on the list is the Qua Furor. This is a stasis aggressive machine gun. Now, this is a castoid weapon. It also has the origin trait wild card. Essentially, final blows with the weapon creates those telestial bolts on the ground. Doesn't do a crazy amount of damage, but still pretty nice. As far as rolls pulse go on this thing? I'm gonna be honest, guys, I'm not that crazy about this weapon. Yes, it does have Rhyme Stiller in that third column, but it doesn't have Headstone in the fourth column. Pretty much all you got is things like Dragonfly, One for All. Yes, you do have Rampage, Elemental Honing, Golden Tricorn. One for All would probably be the easiest one to proc if you're trying to get a damage buff. I wish I could say there was something else special about this thing, but I'm just not that crazy about it, guys. For PvP also, I'm not that crazy about it, but who knows? Maybe we get some quirky artifact perk in the future that will aid this weapon. Now, moving on to our rival weapons. Now, these have some pretty juicy rolls. We're gonna start with False Promises. This is a stasis high-impact auto rifle. Yes, you heard that right. It's stasis now. Now, all of these weapons have the new origin trait, Paracausal Fluid. Gain bonus handling and mobility when damaging targets with this weapon. Swords gain increased charge rate while this perk is active. Essentially, guys, when you score multiple hits with this weapon, it will grant you 2 stacks of Paracausal Fluid, which lasts for 3 seconds. And the stat bumps are supposed to be pretty noticeable. I haven't tested this extensively, but I've heard it's a pretty good origin trait. Now, as far as the perks go, let me just say high-impact auto rifles are some of my favorite weapons in the game. And had High Ground not been nerfed inside of PvE all day long, guys, that perk would have wrecked on this weapon. But with that being the case, I would probably lean toward either Rampage or Zim Moment inside of PvP, probably combined with Dynamic Sway Reduction. I know Surplus is there, and yes, Surplus would be nice, and that really just comes down to what are your ability cooldowns? Are you actually going to be sitting on more than one ability? I would say if you're sitting on more than one, then it might be worth doing Surplus. At 25 there in handling, 2 stacks, and plus 15 there in stability. That substantially jumps up to 3. And yes, this does account for multiple of a single ability. For instance, if you're rocking a subclass that's granting you multiple melees, that will count for multiple charged abilities, therefore giving you multiple stacks of surplus. And one of the things that do hinder these high impact auto rifles inside of PvP is, well, that handling. It's not good. The surplus could be an option there. Now, for my PvE players, I say you have 2 options: Headstone with Loose Change or Headstone with Ambitious Assassin. Now, that's not to say you can't take advantage of maybe High Ground or Rampage or even Swashbuckler. Maybe you want to get crazy with Cascade points. But on the unique factor side of things, Headstone with Ambitious Assassin would be pretty solid. Loose Change also just got a buff, which would directly synergize with Headstone. Now, moving on to our next weapon, we have Whispering Slab. Now, this weapon is still a kinetic, and it is a lightweight frame bow. Now, lightweight frame bows, as I have stated in the past, are definitely not my favorite bows. However, Bungie has buffed them so many times, trying to get them to the same feel as our precision bows. Trait-wise on this one, nothing too crazy inside of PvP. I definitely think our Garden Bow, Accrued Redemption, completely outperforms it. It has way better trait combinations, including the likes of Enhanced Kinetic Tremors. Archer's Gambit is also present there. Whispering Slab doesn't really have any of those things going for it. Yes, you've got Archer's Tempo, and I guess you can utilize that with maybe, I don't know, Opening Shot. On the PvE side of things, nothing else really looks that enticing. Maybe Demolitionist and Adrenaline Junkie. No lie, guys. This bow should have been better in my opinion. Trait-wise, it's just being absolutely screwed. And I know somebody's gonna be like, Cross, no, you completely overlooked it. Hip fire grip with Opening Shot, it's meta. Stop. It's poop, man. Nothing here looks good. Next on the list, though, is a kinetic high-impact pulse rifle, Cold Denial. Now, let me just say this weapon was held back actually by its zoom before Bungie decoupled zoom on this weapon. You see, at one time, despite pulse rifles reaching ranges of like 38 meters, 39 meters, Cold Denial here was never able to reach those points. And that's because its zoom, which was tied to our range back in the day, held this weapon back. Needless to say, that's not the case, which is great for Cold Denial because I actually think this is one of the better feeling high-impact pulse rifles in the game. Now, keep in mind, high-impact pulse rifles did just receive a nerf in Heresy. Bungie really wants us to stop using these weapons and instead use the comp pulse rifle. We trade a pulse rifle meta for another pulse rifle meta. You love it? Now, the role combination I would go for, Zim Moment, Head Seeker, pretty much all day long. Maybe Desperado if I'm trying to be cute. For my PvE players, though, nothing that crazy here. Maybe multi-kill clip, Ambitious Assassin. If not multi-kill clip, maybe Desperado. The biggest thing that hinders this weapon inside of PvE is its archetype. It's just not that good. What I will say, though, is that Cold Denial is a good filling weapon. And if you have disliked using high-impact pulse rifles in the past, Cold Denial might change your mind. Next on the list is an Arc Precision Frame Fusion Rifle, Hollow Warps. Now, let me just say it's an arc weapon. You see Rolling Storm right there, already out the gate. That one's looking pretty juice. Lead from Gold is also present there for ammo economy. You could do Loose Change if you wanted to, or Ambitious Assassin, but I definitely lean toward Lead from Gold more. more, as this nets you ammo back when picking up heavy ammo bricks, which is great. And again, Rolling Storm, very nice. Now, as for PvP, I haven't used it in PvP yet. I know Lego Flash has actually talked about it. He actually spoke highly of the Slick Draw roll on his, which again, significantly increases handling, but also decreases target acquisition. Now, if you have the enhanced version, it significantly increases handling, but it doesn't significantly decrease target acquisition, it just decreases it. You have anything across, why would I care for a max handling hollow words? I don't know, man. Maybe you missed plan C. Here you go. You're almost there. As for other perks inside of PvP, I think your only real option is probably successful warm-up. Now, the last weapon to look at is Temptation's Hook. This is a caster frame arc sword. Now, some traits that stand out: attrition orbs. If you're just looking to just freely create orbs, I would say relentless strikes, but I don't know how many people are actually using the light attack on caster frame swords. Most of us are actually using the caster frame, which is the heavy attack, which means you may want to lean more toward maybe tireless blade if you're looking to conserve ammo. As far as the perks in that final column, you've got chain reaction, which yes, you could do chain reaction on a caster frame sword, which you can utilize both in the heavy attack and in the light attack. Outside of that, you have your normal options, things like whirlwind blade. On guard is also present there. Trait-wise, nothing really stands out too much about the sword, but I'm also still in the process of collecting rolls, so who knows? Maybe something here might surprise me. So guys, those are your roll drop weapons and your arrival weapons and how to get them. Let me know in the comments below what you think. If there's something we miss, feel free to let us know. And if there's a particular weapon on this list that you have found great success with, let us know that too. Well, fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.